Welcome to investingnews.com. We're speaking with Pete Moorhouse from Basin Energy. Welcome, Pete.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having us.
The company has recently pivoted into uranium in Queensland. Why the change in strategy?
Look, John, the change in strategy is to provide investors with the opportunity for exploration in cost-effective jurisdictions with significant potential returns. Now, the Queensland opportunity provides direct exposure for district-scale wins from first-pass drilling with RC and aircore. So this is relatively cheap drilling on district-scale opportunities. Now, Northwest Queensland, from a jurisdiction, we believe is a real prime opportunity for critical minerals. There's significant government initiatives in place, both from a federal and a state perspective. Now, this is really an example of this is with our company, the Neardis Group, who we have purchased has $150,000 initiative grant in place for drill testing rare earth targets, which we can roll out over the next few months. From a uranium perspective, we look at the work that Laramide Resources have been doing in Northwest Queensland at the Westmoreland deposit, and we see that the spotlight that's being brought back into uranium in Queensland, and perhaps that's underpinned notably by the 20% investment recently by Basin Energy.
Could you take investors through the potential of the projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So the potential in these projects is huge. It's district scale. Now, my first interest in these projects came back from about 2007, 2008, and this really started when the Summit Resources guys were considering the potential for roll-front paleochannel hosted uranium being sourced from the large Sabella granites into a system to the west of Mount Isa. Now, Summit Resources conducted some initial work. They did some EM. They mapped this large network of paleochannels. Now, the logic being that the Sabella granite is quite likely the host to world-class deposits like the Valhalla uranium deposit. Well, if it's also feeding these paleochannels as well, then do you have potential for similar things to what we see in South Australia? Now, history happened and nothing got drill tested in Queensland, and these projects got largely forgotten about. So what we have there is a series of drill-ready uranium roll-front paleochannels sitting west of Mount Isa. Now, if we look at what's happened, so fast forward 15 years, the guys at Red Metal have subsequently had the fantastic discovery of the Sabella rare earth deposit. So this is a granite-hosted, relatively shallow rare earth system. If we think about that model that the Summit guys had, well, let's look at what the potential for. Are those rare earths also being transported west in that same system that the Summit guys mapped? And are they heading out into those same paleochannels? We believe, looking at the EM data that Summit had, that there is significant potential for clay-hosted and sediment-hosted rare earth deposits on a district scale west of the Sabella. This is supported largely by the Queensland government with a $150,000 initiative incentive. And if we look at regional geochem data, there is evidence that there's significant mobilisation from these rare earths with over 1,000 ppm sitting at surface in these flats. So from our perspective, two district scale targets, one sitting in the sediments for uranium, for paleochannel hosted uranium, one sitting in the sediments for rare earths. Both of these can be drilled with air core. Now add on to that another district scale opportunity of a Sabella repeat. The guys at Neardis, the company who have acquired, conducted initial scale auger sampling, which resulted in some significant anomalism of rare earths at surface in the granites. We're talking 5 meters up to a couple of thousand ppm down to the end of these drill holes. We believe this is analogous to what the Red Metals guys have got, and again is ready for RC drilling to go and hit straight away. Opportunities are district scale opportunities to go and explore quickly with relatively cheap drilling.
What other major mining companies have a footprint in the region?
So this is Northwest Queensland. This is just west of Mount Isa, only about 60 k's out of town. But we have the likes of Glencore, BHP, Rio, Samphire, Anglo. So they're the big guys. And with that brings infrastructure. We have the town of Mount Isa, which is, as we all know, a traditional long-serving mining town. And we also have infrastructure. We have power ways going into that town. So infrastructure, the right players, and the right district.
Okay, Pete, now the key question, when will exploration be underway?
So we're already busy in the background preparing for this. We've completed a capital raise at the same time of the acquisition, which we raised 1.25 million at a 9% premium on our 20-day VWAP. We will be getting ready for exploration to kick off, and we'll be drilling hopefully all 3 of those targets over the next 6 months.
And just to update investors, what are the key terms of the acquisition?
Sure. The acquisition is still subject to shareholder approval. We'll be calling a general meeting for early October. We'll be issuing around 18.5 million shares, and then there's a series of performance rights which will be made payable if the asset delivers significant return for the company.
Finally, touching on the company's international projects, what are the next steps?
Well, you may have seen just recently we've had an update out of Scandinavia. So in the Nordic regions, we have exploration permits. Now, this is primarily for uranium, having done a first pass of results and had some phenomenal results. However, the recent government update is we're expecting a legislative change in early January next year. And once this happens, we'll be looking to relaunch some exploration there. But in the meantime, that will be low cost burn. Our Athabasca Basin projects, we're looking at ways of returning value for our deeper North Millennium and Marshall targets, whilst we're safeguarding our Geeky target, which we've had some early stage exploration success on.
Thanks very much, Pete, for updating investors on Basin Energy, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Thank you for your time, John. Pleasure talking as always.